Okay, there's an example of that. Letter 4. Hi, storyteller. I'm 3 years old and my favorite movie is The March of the Penguins. Oh yeah, that's a great movie. Does it really have a radical left message? Could you explain it to me? Okay. Thank you. And by the way, I really like your show. Annie from Milan, Italy. Well, thank you, Annie. I'm glad you like the show. Yeah, it does have a radical left message, and I'll explain it. I'll explain it to you. I hope I can explain it better to you. Yeah, well, it's a documentary, The March of the Penguins, and what they show there is you see hundreds, if not thousands, of penguins huddling all together. This is how they survive in the South Pole, and they're cooperating. They're working together. And because they do that, they're able to survive. Also, once the egg is laid, the female penguin and the male penguin takes turns sitting on it to hatch it. And when one of them is sitting on it, for instance, the female is sitting on the egg, the male goes out to look for food and comes back to bring food. And then after he comes back and brings food, he's been away for a while. The female then goes out to look for food, and the male sits and hatches the egg. They all take turns. Okay, they're all huddled together to make sure the eggs are protected. The males and the females, they both share in getting the food, and they all share in the nurturing of the egg. When the egg is hatched, all of the penguins of the group make sure that the baby penguins are all protected. Okay, that they don't go too far. So you see a sharing, a cooperation. Okay, now why is this radical left? Well, they're presenting to us a sharing society, a cooperative society. And the thing is, what the director is saying here or implying here, look, if birds they have very little brains figured out a way of sharing and cooperating with each other, and that is very good for their survival. Obviously, we as human beings with our great brains, our brains are way more developed than a penguin or any bird. We could obviously develop a very cooperative and sharing society where there's no conflict or very little conflict. If a bird could do it, obviously we can do it. Why not? Okay, that's what makes it a radical left. That's the radical left message. A different type of society. Basically, the whole world now is a market economy, and that's based on competition, okay, and profit, right? And if you look at the penguins, that's a society based on sharing and cooperation. It has nothing to do with profit. Okay, and you could see look how they're able to survive in the South Pole. If those penguins were in competition with each other and they were into their own personal profit, they would not survive. They would die. Okay, so I mean, you could see that cooperation is more powerful than competition. Okay, sharing is better than profit. That's the implied message. Okay, let's look at letter 5. Dear storyteller, can religion and science exist together in the future? What do you think? Jackie from Sydney, Australia. Yes, I think they can. But religion has to take a back seat to science, Jackie. Religion has to accept and encourage different scientific research. They have to be open to a lot of new ideas. There's got to be a lot of changes with the clergy as far as being more people-oriented, more worker-oriented. In the past, the idea of the clergy telling the people what to do on most issues, well, that was important for survival. Now, today, because people know how to read and write and the knowledge is there, the scientific knowledge is there, it has to be retaught as far as the role of the clergy in dealing with the people. The clergy has to be more of a people's clergy, a people's religion, okay? And what you need here is not only the religion supporting the science, taking a back seat, but also where religion now is totally because they're for workers, you have to people's religion. They really have to enforce the tenets of peace and love. In other words, the clergy has to really go out and tell their people, you don't fight other workers. Doesn't matter if their religion is different. No wars. This is against our tenets of peace and love, and every religion has that. So this is how religion and science can exist together. If religion doesn't do these things, I would argue in the future, religion's going to be in trouble. But I think religion can do these things. You have a people religion. Each religion is going to have to go through changes in their structure. If they don't allow women to be clergy, that's going to have to change. They're going to have to allow women to be a clergy. If it's based on a bureaucracy where things are decided from some leader down, well, that's going to have to be restructured where people actually vote for certain positions. There's going to be major changes. Okay, and the tenets of peace and love have to really be enforced. That comes first. No more wars. You know, they got to think of sharing. Letter 6. Hey, storyteller, I really enjoy your radical left interpretations of the Twilight Zone TV show. Could you interpret for me the episode entitled The Purple Testament? Thank you. Ahmed from Istanbul, Turkey. Well, what this one's about, those of you who don't know what Ahmed's talking about, the People Testament, the Purple Testament, excuse me. This is about, this is a war going on, and the lieutenant, is, he's with his troops, and when he looks at a soldier's hands, he sees something, and when he sees that thing, he knows that soldier's going to die. And you see that when he sees that, whatever he sees in the person's hand, that sign, some symbol pops up, you see that the person gets shot. Okay, and finally how this Twilight Zone ends, he looks at his own hands and he sees that he's going to be killed, and he dies. Now what does that mean? What does that Twilight Zone mean? Okay, well, it means when you look at war boys and girls, the officers involved in the war, they know when they send troops to certain assignments, they know it's a suicide. It's known privately as a suicide mission. The soldiers that are sent, they don't know that they're going to die. But the people in command, though, they know. So what this lieutenant saw basically is this is how wars are won. Wars are not pretty. They send men to know they're going to be killed. There's no way they're going to come back alive. These are known as suicide missions. Okay, and this probably would not have been shown on television if he was direct showing a suicide mission and then showing a lieutenant willing to do a suicide mission with his troops because he feels whatever, that he's been sending so many boys to a suicide mission that he decides to send himself to one. That's what that represents, okay? But that probably would not have been allowed on television. I'm not even sure it'd be allowed now, the idea of it, but that's how wars are won. How many men you could send on a suicide mission, and usually the men don't know that they're on a suicide mission, that they're going to die. Isn't that a very interesting Twilight Zone? Yeah, it's very powerful, very radical left.